The sea on a winter's night can silence the world. The Pacific stretched endlessly beneath a half-moon, its surface silvered by the pale light that shimmered across each wave. There was no sound but the whisper of the wind and the distant rhythm of swells rising and falling, eternal and indifferent. To any sailor standing watch that night, it might have seemed peaceful, even holy. But beneath that quiet surface lurked a hunter, the submarine USS Archerfish. Inside her steel hull, 80 men waited, their breath thick with oil and tension, the air humming with machinery and anticipation. They had hunted ships before, but tonight felt different, heavier, more fateful. At the heart of the submarine stood Commander Joseph F. Enright, 33, with dark eyes and a quiet resolve forged from failure. Months earlier, he'd returned from a patrol without firing a single torpedo, a humiliation for any submariner. That failure had branded him, gnawed at his confidence, haunted his sleep. But command had given him a second chance, one he refused to waste. Now, standing at the periscope, rosary beads in his pocket, he whispered a prayer not for safety but for redemption. Somewhere out there, radar had picked up a massive target. Steady, fast, and unmistakably important. This was no ordinary freighter. Enright knew destiny was near. Above, the Pacific War was nearing its bloody climax. Japan's empire was collapsing. Once proud fleets now rusted beneath the waves, their airmen gone, their oil gone, their hope fading. Factories stood silent under the thunder of American B-29s. Every mile of ocean around Japan was hunted by U.S. submarines. The Imperial Navy that had once ruled the Pacific now clung to fragments of its former power. And yet, amidst the ruins, one final gamble was underway. The launch of the largest warship ever built, Shinano. The Shinano had begun her life as a battleship, the third of the mighty Yamato-class, symbols of Japanese naval supremacy. But after Midway, when Japan lost 4 fleet carriers in a single day, her purpose changed. Battleships were obsolete, aircraft now ruled the sea. The unfinished hull of Shinano was converted into something new, something massive. An aircraft carrier larger than anything the world had seen. Her armored flight deck stretched 840 feet, her hull thick enough to shrug off torpedoes. She was to be Japan's floating fortress, a vessel of steel and hope. So secret was her construction that even Japan's own officers knew little. The drydock was sealed under a concrete roof to hide her from American bombers. Workers were forbidden to leave the yard. Military police patrolled day and night. The name Shinano was spoken only in whispers, and yet secrecy bred mistakes. Materials ran short, welds went unchecked, and systems were rushed. The ship that was meant to embody perfection was being built in chaos. October 8, 1944, the day Shinano was to meet the sea. Priests blessed her hull, incense smoke rising, drums beating. But when the drydock gate failed, the ocean burst in like a beast unleashed. 70,000 tons of steel slammed forward uncontrollably, crushing workers, snapping cables, killing 17. The ceremony became carnage. The ship that was to be Japan's pride was born in disaster. Sailors whispered that she was cursed, and that the sea itself had rejected her. Repairs were swift, but the fear lingered. Men spoke of the Kami, spirits angered by the blood spilled at her launch. Captain Toshio Abe, a stoic veteran of Midway, dismissed it all as superstition. Steel has no soul, he told his men, but deep down even he felt the weight of the omen. The shipyard fell silent at night. Some workers refused to go aboard after dark. The Shinano stood colossal and lifeless, as though listening. By November, Tokyo ordered her to sail, ready or not. Her radar untested, her watertight doors unfinished, her crew untrained. Only 8 of 12 boilers worked. Her escort would be just 3 weary destroyers. But Japan could not wait. American submarines prowled ever closer. The unfinished Shinano would depart Yokosuka and steam south under cover of darkness. The voyage was meant to be short, just 20 hours to Kure. History had other plans. At the same hour, USS Archerfish surfaced 30 miles south. Enright's radar operator picked up a blip, large, steady, fast. The captain raised his binoculars and froze. On the horizon loomed a dark shape unlike any he had seen. It was moving with escorts, a major warship. The chase began. Engines roared, the submarine vibrating as it surged forward at full speed. Below, men wiped sweat from their faces as the temperature climbed. Above, the moonlight glinted off waves, indifferent to the predator rising beneath. The Shinano zigzagged, standard anti-submarine tactics. But each turn cost speed, and Enright was watching. On his plotting table, grease pencil lines traced the carrier's path. "She's running a pattern," said his XO. Enright cut across her turns, cornering the giant in a deadly dance of mathematics. Below decks, sailors whispered, "We're chasing a monster." As Shinano maneuvered, her untested systems began to fail. Bearings overheated, lights flickered, pumps jammed. Water seeped through seams that had never been properly sealed. Men worked knee-deep in oily water, shouting over roaring turbines. Sweat mixed with fear. The great carrier was breaking apart from within, before the enemy even struck. Near 3 a.m., a Japanese destroyer spotted what it thought was a periscope and charged. Archerfish dove instantly. Depth charges thundered above, dull, rolling explosions echoing through the hull. Paint dust fell from the ceiling, light bulbs shattered, but none struck close. When the destroyer turned back to formation, Enright rose again to periscope depth. The giant was still there, still unaware, still in his sights. At 3:15 a.m., Shinano steadied on course. Broadside 1,400 yards away. Enright's voice was calm. "Open outer doors. Fire 1. The submarine lurched. Then again. Fire 2, 3, 4, 6. 6 torpedoes raced through the black water, white wakes cutting straight toward destiny. Enright watched through the periscope. "They're running hot and straight." Seconds later, the ocean erupted. The first explosion slammed into Shinano's hull with a roar that split the night. Then another. Then 2 more. Towers of water rose higher than her flight deck. Men were thrown from ladders, engines torn from mounts, compartments flooding instantly. The ship listed, her lights flickering. On the bridge, Captain Abe's knuckles whitened on the rail. He ordered counterflooding, but his crew was too green, his ship too wounded. Below, disaster unfolded in darkness. Doors jammed, compartments flooded, screams echoed through steel corridors. Men hammered on sealed hatches as water rose around them. Others fought fires, slipping on oil-slicked floors. The pumps failed, circuits sparked, and smoke filled the air. The great ship's armor was strong, but her heart was weak. Every failure multiplied the next. Flooding spread like fire. Far below, Archerfish went silent. The destroyers above began their hunt, dropping pattern after pattern of depth charges. The ocean shook. "Hold fast," Enright whispered. Hours passed before the sounds faded. When they surfaced at dawn, the horizon was empty. The giant was gone. Somewhere beneath, history had shifted. On Shinano, chaos became despair. The list grew to 20 degrees. Aircraft and fuel trucks rolled across the deck. Men tied ropes to pull themselves upward. Below, trapped engineers kept the power running until the sea claimed them. The order came, prepare to abandon ship. But for many, escape was impossible. The ship was dying too fast. At 10:55 a.m., the world's largest carrier rolled onto her side and capsized. Men slid into the sea, clinging to debris. The water swallowed her with a final roar, leaving only oil and silence. Captain Abe remained on the bridge, tied to the helm. The anthem of Japan rose faintly from those who stayed with him. Then the sea closed over their voices. In just 17 hours, the greatest warship ever built was gone. 3 destroyers circled the wreckage, rescuing who they could, and leaving many behind. The winter sea was cruel. Oil choked the surface. Over 1,000 men perished in minutes. Survivors were ordered to silence. Japan could not admit the loss. To the world, Shinano had never existed. To the men who lived, she would haunt their dreams forever. Back in Pearl Harbor, Commander Enright filed his report. sank one large carrier, estimated 28,000 tons. Intelligence doubted him. They said no such ship existed. Only after the war did he learn the truth. His target had displaced 71,000 tons, the largest warship ever sunk by a submarine. His redemption was complete. A man once marked by hesitation had struck the most decisive blow of the silent service. The fall of Shinano carried lessons beyond war. She proved that power built on haste and illusion is doomed. Her armor was unmatched, but her spirit, the discipline, the training, the care, was missing. She was not defeated by superior steel, but by superior systems. Enright's victory was not luck alone. It was the triumph of preparation, patience, and precision over pride. For 75 years, the Shinano slept undisturbed, a legend whispered by sailors. In 2019, deep-sea explorers found her, still upside down, 4,000 meters below. Her hull remained almost whole, her flight deck buried in silt. Cameras revealed her name, still visible under the rust. The sea had kept her secret longer than any navy could. She rests there still, the ghost of Japan's last gamble. For 75 years, the Shinano slept undisturbed, a legend whispered by sailors. In 2019, deep-sea explorers found her, still upside down, 4,000 meters below. Her hull remained almost whole, her flight deck buried in silt. Cameras revealed her name, still visible under the rust. The sea had kept her secret longer than any navy could. She rests there still, the ghost of Japan's last gamble. History remembers Shinano not for what she did, but for what she never had the chance to do. She never launched a plane, never fought a battle, never justified the faith of those who built her. Yet in her loss lies a timeless lesson, that might without mastery is fragility disguised as power. The sea is the great equalizer. It humbles giants and exalts the prepared. On that cold November morning in 1944, two ships met in the dark. One vast and proud, the other small and silent. When dawn came, only one remained. That is the nature of war at sea, swift, merciless, and final. The ocean shows no favoritism to size or strength. It swallows all equally, keeping their stories in the deep until time is ready to tell them again.